enforcement issued a search warrant on CHAD DAYBELL's Idaho property. They arrived at 7 a.m., had everybody leave, and began their search. Human remains were discovered within a few hours on the property. Right after they found the human remains, CHAD DAYBELL was driving in his car about a mile away from the property and was stopped by law enforcement, placed in handcuffs, and taken into custody without incident.
And welcome to the news at noon. I'm Doug Petcash. As you just saw here on KTVB, we were covering the first court appearance for CHAD DAYBELL in Fremont County, and some big developments came out of that as CHAD DAYBELL, husband of Lori Vallow Daybell, made his first court appearance. This comes after police found 2 sets of human remains on his property in Fremont County early yesterday morning after serving a search warrant. We want to get right out to our Misty England, who is outside the Fremont County Courthouse after this hearing wrapped up about 18 minutes ago. And Misty's going to catch us up on what we learned today, and 2 major things really came out of this first court appearance. Misty.
Absolutely, Doug. So the 2 most important pieces of information we learned just a few minutes ago. The first is that CHAD DAYBELL's bail has been set at $1 million. And the second, and probably most grim here, the prosecutor stating that he believes that those 2 sets of remains found on CHAD's property are children. Now, CHAD is charged with 2 felony counts of destroying or concealing evidence. That's 1 count for each set of remains found. That carries a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison and or a $10,000 fine for each. The defense said that because of that, they asked that bail be set at $100,000. However, the prosecution argued that it should be higher, should be set at $1 million because of the seriousness of the charge. That seriousness being that there are 2 different sets of human remains, which resulted in the biggest piece of information we learned today, that the prosecutor says those remains are believed to be children.
The evidence that has been concealed in this case, it's not simply a document, drugs, a gun. These are human remains. And we can, although those remains have not yet been positively identified, we are aware that those remains are the remains of children.
And right there, you just heard it. They have not been positively identified yet. We want to be very clear on that an autopsy is still pending to confirm the identities of those remains. But again, the prosecution stating there that they believe those to be the children. And the dates of the charges against CHAD also match the dates that JJ and Tylee were last seen. With that information, that discussion, the judge did agree with the prosecution and did set bail at $1 million for CHAD. And he is set to be back in court for a preliminary hearing or probable cause hearing coming up on July 1st and 2nd. Doug?
And Misty, any indication of how long it will take to get an identification and have the autopsy finished on those 2 sets of remains?
No timeline yet. That was not discussed in the hearing today at all. And then, yesterday with the announcement from police, we tried to ask them that. They were very limited on the details that they were giving us. They didn't take many questions, so they have not given a timeline of when they expect those results.
And finally, Misty, is there still activity on CHAD's property, overnight and into today since they found the 2 sets of human remains?
So we were out there around 7 o'clock last night, right before police called an additional press conference. They were still very active out there. There were a lot of law enforcement officers on scene. There was law enforcement trailers there. Crime scene tape was up. Tents were still up in the backyard. A backhoe was out there. Again, that was around 7 or so last night. We have not had a chance to be out there yet this morning because we came straight here to Fremont County, which is about 20 minutes or so away from his house. So we came straight here to be prepared for that hearing at 11 a.m. However, they had taken down most of the roadblocks to CHAD's house last night. Still had the crime scene tape up, still had some of the equipment out there, but those roadblocks had mostly been taken down.
Well, this investigation will certainly continue on. Misty, thank you so much for your reporting on this case live from Fremont County today after the hearing for CHAD DAYBELL. And his next court appearance, as Misty mentioned, is scheduled for July 1st and 2nd on the charges of destruction or concealment of evidence, that evidence being 2 sets of human remains. His wife, Lori Vallow, the mother of JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan, is still in jail also in Madison County, where she has a very high bond set as well, and she faces different charges in this case and we'll continue to follow this. Her next hearing is set for a week after Chad's. We'll have the latest developments coming up today on the news at 4. And this is
CHAD DAYBELL remains in custody right now. And as of Saturday, those human remains were identified as 7-year-old JJ Vallow and 17-year-old Tylee Ryan. JJ would have just turned 8 in May. Tylee was probably dead before her 17th birthday. She would have turned 17 back in September 24th, 2019. CHAD DAYBELL was charged with 2 felony counts of destruction and concealment of evidence. At this point, there are no murder charges, but both Laurie and Chad are sitting in jail. Chad was arraigned on Wednesday, June 10th, and bail was set at $1 million. It doesn't appear that he's tried to make bond. Welcome to Left Undone, Incomplete Investigations. I'm Kathryn. Please like, please subscribe, please ring the bell. We are following this case. We've been following it since January, and we will continue to follow it until there is nothing left to follow. CHAD DAYBELL and Lori Vallow have had the time of their life after the children went missing. If you remember back in November, Lori Vallow was approached at her home by law enforcement based on a call from Kay Woodcock and Larry Woodcock. They were concerned about JJ. That's when the public truly began to understand what might be going on in this story. We had so much hope, and so many people have come together in the communities. My YouTube channel has grown based on this story alone. If you are new to Left Undone, please like, subscribe, ring the bell so you will get notifications when we have new material or go live. We do a live every Saturday morning at 10:30 Pacific time here on YouTube. And we also have members only happy hour twice a month on the second Friday and the last Friday of the month. And we all just get together, all just the members, and you can join and become a member if you hit the join button. So let's just go back to what has been going on with the update and this story. JJ was adopted by Lori Vallow and her husband, Charles. And as you know, Charles was killed by Alex Cox, Lori's brother, in self-defense back in July. If you're not familiar with all that information, you really, truly will have a lot to listen to. And you can go back all the way to this playlist to episode 1, 2, 3. The original zombie information email was released on this channel first, and it blew our minds. Now, not so much. Everything has come true, and it's kind of takes your breath away a little bit when you go back and look at the previous episodes since January and watch the story evolve and evolve. Tylee was last seen in Yellowstone Park back on September 8th, 2019. JJ was last seen at the end of September 23rd in Rexburg, Idaho. This week has been heavy and hard. There's been vigils, candlelight vigils. Kay and Larry Woodcock have flown into Idaho and toured the property of where the bodies were found. Heartbreaking to listen to Larry. I'll show you that now.
Grief and heartache as the grandparents of JJ Vallow visited the site where their grandson's remains were believed to be found. We were in Rexburg Tuesday, hours after investigators found human remains at the home of CHAD DAYBELL. But those remains have not yet been positively identified by law enforcement. Today, we're getting a look at video of the grandparents who are now in Rexburg. Our Shira Matsuzawa is here now with a look at how they're holding up. Shira?
Kim, the video you're about to see was taken last night. In it, Larry Woodcock is heard saying he wasn't coming there with any hostility, but instead to be a peacemaker.
I just want to give you my condolences.
Yes,
I am so terribly sorry. I'm so sorry.
Moments like this played out in Rexburg Wednesday as neighbors as well as members of the media gave condolences to the grandparents of JJ Vallow.
I watched the whole process yesterday, and it's heartbreaking what's happened to us.
And y'all don't deserve this.
Oh,
Nobody.
neither do you.
Well, I'm just saying, this neighborhood.
I mean,
and
really,
the
you've lost
people
your
of Rexburg,
grandchildren. I can't imagine.
you know, it's not about us.
No, it isn't.
It's about them.
Community member Janice Summers, who has been following this case closely, captured this video of Kay and Larry Woodcock walking along the road near the Daybell property.
This has torn up so many people. It's destroyed people. It's torn up whole homes. And there's no need for this.
The same area where they believe their grandson JJ and his sister Tylee's remains were buried.
And I just want you to know I came here for one reason. That's to see where JJ is.
In the 10-minute video, Kay is mostly quiet, but Larry is seen and heard talking with various media outlets and neighbors.
I'm not worried about the people that are responsible for this. The judicial system will take care of that. And anybody else that was involved that needs to be part of it. But at this point, my job is not hatred. My job is to come here and do what I can do to mend fences. If JJ was here right now, he'd be running up and down this road.
And Larry was also heard saying that he would like to potentially get to know the Daybell children. Meantime, the Fremont County Sheriff tells me the Fremont County Coroner is here in Boise and working with the Ada County Coroner's Office on the autopsies in connection with this case. Now, I reached out to the Ada County Coroner's Office, but they could not comment on this. They could only tell me that they offer pathology services to other jurisdictions on contract. Kim?
Oh, Shira, that's hard to watch. The grief, as we mentioned, just on display there. And so many times we heard the Woodcocks addressing the media, talking with reporters, begging for any kind of information as to where JJ might be and his sister Tylee, and then to have it look like that it came to this conclusion. As we've said, the Woodcocks have said that those remains were of their grandson and of Tylee, although law enforcement has yet to confirm that officially. But so it's closure for them, but obviously not the closure that they wanted.
Right.
So it's just sad to see.
It's sad all around, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Shira, thank you.
The night of the vigil, Larry wasn't feeling well, so he did not go to the vigil. But there was a lot of people there in support, singing and beautiful candlelight.
Dozens of people are coming together in eastern Idaho to remember JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan, including those from out of state who personally knew the two children.
Remains believed to belong to them were recovered earlier this week.
Fox 13's Lauren Steinbrecher is in Idaho Falls with that vigil tonight. Lauren.
Yeah, Kelly and Bob. So this is really just the culmination of a tough, long week for this whole community. And the vigil program ended a few minutes ago, but there's still, there's about, a couple of hundred people are here. And, even people who never knew JJ and Tylee but got to know them through this entire ordeal, following their story for months and months. And then, of course, this week to find out that their remains were likely recovered from CHAD DAYBELL's yard in Salem, Idaho. One of the people we spoke with who came up here, she drove all the way from the Salt Lake area. One of Tylee's best friends who actually lived in Hawaii when Tylee lived in Hawaii and spent a lot of time with her for years. They kept in touch even after they both, kind of moved away. And she said that they would text each other a little, every once in a while. And of course, she was worried for so many months about what happened. But it was hard. It was really hard to have any sort of closure or have any sort of feeling of what was going on. This week, everything just hit. And she knew that she had to get in that car and drive up here tonight.
The day she went missing, she told me, she's like, I love you. And I said, I love you too. And then I never texted her or saw her again. My best friend's been missing since September, and I really need to go and mourn her and everything. And I need to go to her vigil, and I'm going to need to go to her funeral and everything, because I really just need to get closure, because it never really hit me that she was gone. I'm really happy that people are here to support them and are here to mourn them and give their support and care for them, because they really do deserve the best, and they deserve to have that love, because they were the sweetest people in the world.
As everybody has been trying to cope with this, it only seemed fitting for people to get together so they were not going through this alone. And that's what people have been telling me tonight, is being able to come together here after everything they've been seeing and feeling, not just this week, but for several months now. And we're seeing lots of hugs tonight. They played a slideshow with photos. They had singing going on, prayer, a moment of silence. And what a way to end the week, to be able to honor these two children. And there's going to continue to be events like this. We're hearing tomorrow people are cutting ribbons. We're hearing on Sunday. And so people are going to continue to honor JJ and Tylee, and of course, continue to follow the justice system and make sure that the lives of these two children are honored, and make sure that whatever happened to them, that the people responsible are held accountable. Live in Idaho Falls, Lauren Steinbrecher, Fox 13 News, Utah.
But as hard as it is, it's still so hard to wrap our minds around what could have really happened to these children. Lori Vallow, these are her babies. These are her. She has been the mother of Tylee Ryan. Tylee Ryan came out of her body. If you've ever delivered a baby, if you've ever raised a child, not even delivered, but your child, JJ was adopted, and he was Charles's world. Charles Vallow's sister is Kay Vallow Woodcock, and she is the biological grandmother of JJ. JJ's biological parents are Mandy Legler and Todd Trahan. They were unable to raise JJ, and Kay and Larry had initially had custody of JJ, but Charles, the kind soul that he was, and if you watch the interviews with him when he was trying to get help for Laurie back in January, a year ago, January 2019, he was desperately trying to get her help, and it failed him. The police department failed him. The psych evaluations failed him. Everything failed him to the point where he was killed. They gave up, JJ's biological parents gave him up for adoption, thinking he would be well taken care of. Laurie and Charles had a family. They had Tylee. They had Colby, Laurie's older son. They had a perfect family unit to raise little JJ. JJ was diagnosed with autism, and he was obviously a handful, but he was very loved. And you can see that from his grandparents and his father, Charles. Unfortunately, Laurie has some kind of a problem. Is she delusional? Is she just a psychopath? I'm leaning towards the latter. I think Laurie knew what she was doing. I think Chad knew what they were doing. And I think they are just pure evil. But that's my opinion of them. I think they played this out as long as they could. And I actually think they thought they would get away with this. They ran off to Hawaii after these children were obviously murdered and had pictures on the beach of their wedding. Chad's wife was only dead for 2 weeks, and we still don't know the outcome of that. Obviously, there's been statements released from Tammy's family at this point that it is more and more clear at this point that there would have been foul play involved in her death. Now, I'm not going to go over the whole backstory because it's all there and lots and lots and lots of videos. I'm no longer numbering the videos because there are so many, but I will put the date of the recording so you could follow them in that kind of chronological order. Many live videos too, but if you just want to binge watch for the facts, just go back and watch all the pre-recorded videos. I don't know what's happening with Chad's family. His own children have not released a statement. His YouTube channel that's out there now, this gentleman goes on location, and he has gone to Tammy's grave, and he has gone to the Daybell house, and he did speak with Garth the other day. And Garth is one of Chad's children, and he was very polite and spoke and asked for prayers. Other than that, Chad has 5 kids. They've been all over the map with this whole thing. I don't know what they all feel or if they suspected that their dad was involved with their mom's death and with the children's. But I think at this time, reality is sinking in. If you remember back in January, Emma Daybell pulled up behind a reporter when her parents' house was being searched back in January in regards to the death of her mother, Tammy. I'll show you a clip.
To call law enforcement. All right, now, Ariel, you mentioned the woman that approached you during your report yesterday. What happened with that?
Well, Linda, she told me live there that she asked, even though we were not, I told her that we were legally able to be on the property, she asked me to leave during my live report, and I refused to leave.
Wow, okay, now I'm taking a look at that and seeing she's pulling some faces and some things that really seem pretty inappropriate for somebody whose family is connected with a case that is this serious.
You know, I was thinking the exact same thing when I later went back and watched the video because I was just shocked by how pleasant she seemed in the video, and then later off camera she was blatantly rude, to be frank.
Right, yeah, that's this case just gets weirder and weirder the more we get into it. All right, thanks so much, Ariel.
But she certainly was very inappropriate for an adult woman making faces behind the camera. Not sure what her story is there. I've always been highly suspect of her and her husband, Joseph Murray, of somehow having knowledge or being involved just because of their behaviors. There was a release Lori Vallow page. They were very active on that page, and they made comments, thumbs up, likes all the time. The person running that page was extremely nasty, really, really nasty in the way they spoke to people, the way they deleted people, deleted comments, and was all the big cheerleader for Lori the whole time. Emma and Joseph Murray were very active there, to the point where we suspect that they might have been running the page. Never been proven. Somehow, I still believe that they are involved with that page. Joseph Murray sent me a nasty message when I brought this up on YouTube, telling me he was going to send his lawyer after me. At this point, I think he has bigger fish to fry than Kathryn on YouTube. This is big. This case is bigger than most news reporters, mainstream news reporters, like they've never heard anything like this. This is going to be a heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching trial when it comes down to it. And we're all anxiously awaiting more charges. They were found on Chad's property, which doesn't look good. I do believe there may be some complications and hurdles for the prosecutors to get past, but thankfully, CHAD DAYBELL is a dumbass. He buried bodies on his own property. We can thank goodness that he's asinine and stupid. Mr. Daybell thought he was all that shits and giggles. Mr. Daybell, thank goodness you're stupid. Now, at this point, Laurie is sitting in jail for abandonment of her children, and she's been there for months now. She was asked over and over again, please tell us where your children are. Her fan club was all about Christopher Parrott saying, oh, we know the truth now. It's evil Grandma Kay. Kay's trying to kidnap the kids. I mean, people, on her side of the fence have been like, oh, Lori, oh, her parents. I mean, Lori's mom and sister liars. Lori's niece, Melanie, liars. If you go back and watch all the interviews, it all comes together at this point, and they will not be any kind of credible witness. They actually lied. Summer Shiflett, Lori's sister, and her mother, Janice, actually lied on TV, on the news, on 48 Hours, that they spoke with JJ in October. These people are not going to be credible. Their lies have been crazy. I was informed that the male child, which we now know is JJ, was found wrapped. His haircut was JJ's, similar haircut, length, everything. The other body, which we now know is Tylee Ryan, was left in an egregious condition. What did they do to those children?
Okay, so I'm Alexia. I'm Tylee. And this is our channel. Okay, this is our first video. Yeah. So we wanted to explain to you guys for the first part what our channel is, what we'll be doing, things like that. So our name is Rain X Ryan because my middle name is Rain and her last name is Ryan. And so we just put it together and yeah. And then our channel is gonna be full of like videos, like tutorials, vlogs, Q&As, rants, challenges, and arguing. Yeah. Basically anything we feel like on the day we are going to film. So because we're indecisive and have no life. So this channel's probably gonna be a really big mess of different things, but that's okay. It's a hot mess. Like us. I'm just kidding. Okay, let's get on to the actual video that you guys came to see. Bye guys!
Obviously, it's going to be gruesome, and I don't know if any of us will be able to absorb what really happened. But if you really think about it, Lori's children. Lori was involved in the murder of her children to be with this doofus. My consensus is it's all about money, greed, and sex. This isn't about being one of the 144,000, the chosen one. God doesn't choose you to kill your children. I mean, come on. If anybody believes that, anybody out there that follows these teachings, you better go get your head on straight, because this is evil. This is complete evil. This is the devil. This is Satan. This is not God. You are being tricked. These are false prophets, and this is about one of the most horrible things you could ever imagine. And using the name of God as why you are doing this in the name of God, how does that make any sense to any of you? Doesn't make any sense to me. Doesn't make any sense to most people. But there are people that follow these teachings. Melanie Pulaski needs to come forward. Melanie Pulaski is a liar. If you go back and watch the video that I did on Melanie Pulaski's body language, or just watch her interviews, you can see how much she lies. She knows something. I mean, in my opinion, she knows something. In a lot of people's opinion, she knows something. So what does she know? And will she be arrested next? I think she might be. I think she's on law enforcement radar. Her husband Ian wore a wire. You know, I was reviewing, Ian left up a article on when he wore the wire on his Facebook page. And there is quite the conversation going on there. And one of the things that is being said from somebody that personally knows Brandon, who is Melanie Pulaski's ex-husband, who has her children that she left, is saying that Melanie is a compulsive liar, and she always has been. Melanie Pulaski is pregnant with Ian's baby, which throws a whole big wrench in this whole thing, and we will go over that later. I am working on something about them as well. The police did release a statement on June 13th, 2020, saying that on June 9th, at approximately 700 hours, Rexburg Police Department assisted the Fremont County Sheriff's Office, Idaho State investigators, and the FBI served a search warrant at the CHAD DAYBELL residence in Fremont County in regards to a missing children's investigation involving Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow. During the search, the property investigators found what appeared to be two sets of unidentified human remains. The remains were taken to the medical examiner's office where an autopsy and positive identification were performed. It was with heavy hearts that we now confirm that those remains have now been officially identified as those of JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan. We would like to thank all of the law enforcement offices involved, the Fremont County Sheriff's Office, the FBI, family, friends, and everyone throughout this community and across the country for their diligent and tireless efforts to find JJ and Tylee. It's not the outcome we had hoped to be able to find the children safe. Our hearts and prayers go out to the families of JJ and Tylee. The investigation is still active and ongoing. Assistant Chief Hagan, Rexburg Police Department. Justin Lum had posted Remembering Tylee Ryan. Remembering Tylee Ryan, she had a unique sense of humor. She loved her Jeep. She enjoyed grabbing Chipotle with friends. Simply a teenage girl growing into a young woman in Arizona. She didn't want to move to Idaho initially, her best friend tells me, but she went forward with the move because of her little brother, JJ. She wanted to protect him. From what we're gathering, it looks like she was killed first. So hopefully she was there in heaven with open arms to welcome JJ. They're with their daddies now as well. But it is a horrific, horrible ending to a beautiful girl and a beautiful little boy. Let me show you some gorgeous pictures that have been posted of them right now for a moment. We can take a moment of silence to look at some gorgeous pictures of these beautiful, beautiful children.
What a friend we have in Jesus, all our sins and griefs to bear. And what a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pain we bear. All because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. And have we trials and temptations? Is there trouble anywhere? Well, we should never be discouraged. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Can we find a friend so faithful, who will all our sorrows share? Well, Jesus knows our every weakness. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Jesus knows our every weakness. Take it to the Lord in prayer.
Rest in peace, Joshua, JJ, and Tylee Ryan. May your memories be eternal. We will never stop fighting down here and watching this story and keeping it alive to keep your memory alive and to demand justice. Lori Vallow's family, the Cox, did release a statement as well. Mesa, Arizona, June 10th, 2020. The Cox family, Janice and Barry Summer, Melanie and Ian, are deeply saddened by the recent findings in the investigation into the whereabouts of JJ and Tylee. Their love for them knows no bounds. The family has maintained a strong hope and belief that they were alive and well. With that hope and belief apparently shattered, they struggle to find comfort and hope in the potential new reality. They miss JJ and Tylee very much. The family is grateful to those who have expended so much time and effort in trying to locate them. the family expresses their deep and abiding love for JJ and Tylee, the family will continue to closely watch the developing situation and will anxiously await the pending conclusions with heavy hearts. The family extends their gratitude to all those who have expressed their love and concern for JJ and Tylee and feels the strength of their faith and prayers. The Cox family was not at the vigil, none of them, and this is their statement. They have only supported Lori and CHAD through this, and they were adamant that they would never do anything to hurt those children, which they realize now they're wrong. And nobody has really given them much thought because everyone has felt that they didn't really care about the kids all along. They didn't try to find them. They didn't make any statements. They finally hopped on the news and lied. So their statement, formality, what we're supposed to do, but they have not really showed any kind of concern for those kids all along. This is just so sad when you think about it. I remember being a 16-year-old teenager and so excited about my future, my life ahead of me, becoming a mom, having a career. And I think of all the years that I've had from 16 till now and all the things that poor little Tylee and JJ will never get to do in their life. They will never have children. They will never be parents. They will never get married. They will never have a career. And this whole story just is extremely heartbreaking when you think how invested and how hopeful all of us were. I've worked tirelessly on this channel and hoping to keep the story alive and hoping for a happy ending. I've feared, and the longer it went on, I've believed more and more that these children will never be found alive. But the ending is such a reality to know that they really, truly are dead and that they were murdered and that they were buried in CHAD Daybell's yard. It just makes it that much more horrible than it could possibly was. And it was horrible, you know? So rest in peace, Tylee and JJ. Now, everyone, they didn't confirm, nothing like Melanie Pulaski has not been confirmed to be an informant. There's a lot of rumors out there. Try to weed through the rumors and speculation and just kind of stick to the facts and the heaviness of what's going on. Somehow the police were led to CHAD Daybell's property. From what I'm being told from people that are close to the case, it was because of the neighbors, the suspicious activity that had been going on at CHAD's house. He had bonfires back in the fall, and then he had several this year. He was also spotted, according to neighbors, digging in the yard late at night. So I think it was more that the police were zoned in on this unusual activity and were able to go in there and bring the cadaver dogs and find them. I don't think anybody's turned on anybody at this point, but I'm sure we will find out if that has happened, in fact. But I honestly believe that Melanie Pulaski is still completely on the radar and will be somehow charged with something to do in this case, especially with the shooting of her ex-husband, Brandon. That is still out there. There's so many left turns, right turns, upside down U-turns in this whole case. And I'm making this video about them finding the kids and stuff. I'm not going to go back into all that, but just know there's a lot more to this case that we will find out. We'll see, we'll hear, we'll know. But right now, the fact that Brandon was shot at, and that's Melanie's husband, and she left her children. So there's a lot going on there, and I'm working on a Melanie video for you. Now, people like Chris Parrott gave a statement regarding this and saying now that he's going to eat crow and that he shouldn't have believed them, but he really, I'll show you that interview as well right now. Chris Parrott was very much a cheerleader for CHAD and Lori from the beginning and was blasting people on a vow of their prepper community, and now is allowing people to comment again. So all these people that were their cheerleaders, that were nasty to the rest of the world, that kicked people off of their prepper community message board for thinking that there's something fishy going on with the Daybell Vallow situation. And now, guess what? Bodies were found. Children's bodies were found.
Well, you might remember for months, there was only one person close to CHAD Daybell or Lori Vallow willing to defend them publicly, saying that they know, quote unquote, the real story about what happened to JJ and Tylee. His name is Christopher Parrott, and this is just one of the messages he posted in an online forum. You can see it right there on your screen in big bold words, vindicated. Quote, Chad and Lori called me tonight and we spoke for almost a full hour. I am here to tell you I feel totally vindicated in standing up for Chad. Sue, my wife, and I now fully understand what had been going on from day one, including what's been going on with the kids and his wife, Tammy's death. At the time, he went on to blame, quote, lies that have been posted on social media and in the lamestream news. He promised their story and all of its detail is coming soon. And the only hint he gave is that this was a, quote, nasty, ugly custody case being driven by grandma. Today at their home in Rigby, Idaho, the Parrott's tone changed drastically. They did not apologize for their post, but they said they feel terrible, that they had no idea the kids were dead, that their hearts and prayers are with the family, that they're sick to their stomach, and they said they want people to know they had nothing to do with this. The question I asked is, what is the story Chad Daybell told you? They said they didn't feel comfortable sharing because they don't want to interfere with an ongoing investigation, other than to say, obviously, Chad lied to us. Reporting in Rexburg, Adam Herbets, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Now, the day before the children were found, one of the Daybell children posted a gorgeous picture of rainbows, double rainbows, over the property. And looking back now, it's pretty eerie. A gorgeous picture of double rainbows over the property. Garth Daybell, a beautiful double rainbow, just barely. Life may have its storms, but the light does shine through, and the result is bright and beautiful. Just a gorgeous rainbow right where those children were buried. I mean, Tammy was probably alive when those children were murdered, but remember, she was also most likely murdered, and she would have, from what people that really know Tammy and really cared about Tammy, this is just a tragedy for her. You know, her children no longer have her, and we have to give some kind of empathy to her children, even though some of them have not been very appropriate in this, especially Emma and her husband. However, they are also victims, so we will give them prayers as well and thoughts and hope that they were not involved and had no knowledge of this, because they should have come forward earlier if they did. But at this point, I'm giving them all the benefit of the doubt, because obviously denial is a very powerful thing, and their mother was killed. Most likely, what we suspect, too much of a coincidence. Remember, Chad and Lori had purchased their wedding rings, their malachite wedding rings, before Tammy was even dead. Tammy was shot at as well and missed. There's just too much for this to be a coincidence that Tammy's dead. And hopefully law enforcement will find the cause of death and pin it on the person responsible. And hopefully there will be a conviction. I believe there's a couple of really true heroes in all of this. Number 1 and 2, the Woodcocks absolutely are the main heroes in this. They reported JJ missing and they kept on it. They got the media involved, and East Idaho News, Nate Eaton, Justin Lum from Fox 13 Phoenix have been on this case since day one, and they haven't let it go. They have kept this alive. There's also been Dateline, and there's also been 48 Hours. There will be another Dateline episode coming up. They were in Rexburg this week, and they were filming. The other hero in this, and I know some people feel this is controversial, but is Melanie Gibb. Melanie Gibb gave the information initially when those kids went missing. She gave the information to her friends about the zombies, about the dark, about the children going dark, about JJ being called a zombie, Tylee being called a zombie, and the portals, and all that crap that was in that email. That was leaked to social media, to Left Undone. And without that email being leaked by her friends that she gave this information to, I don't know if this would have got that far either. And of course, looking back, Charles completely predicted outcome, and Charles is dead. So there was a lot of crap that went on along the way that could have been caught, could have been fixed, should have been, could have been, especially Charles. Charles shouldn't be dead. If Charles wasn't dead, most likely the kids would be alive. Just a horrible, horrible, horrible chain of events, things that went wrong, law enforcement not taking people seriously, and this outcome, the worst possible outcome you can imagine. But I do believe that Melanie Gibb is a hero in this, and the Woodcocks. Those are my two big heroes in this entire thing. There could have been others, but they chose not to talk, and they chose not to come forward, and they chose to lie. There could have been others. And those others will always be looked at like pitiful liars. And there's children involved. I'm sorry. You don't get to protect evil murderers, no matter what you believe your ridiculous religious beliefs are, because that's not God. So that's the update of everything that's happened since the bodies were found. And we just want to keep going on with the story and keep it in the news, keep it in the social media. People from around the world are watching and paying attention to this horrendous crime that happened in the United States of America. And just know that this isn't acceptable anywhere. But thank you for being here and keeping the story alive and keeping JJ, Tylee, and the families in their prayers. And as well, Colby is also a victim in this. Colby is Lori's oldest child, son, adult, and he is a victim. And we pray for him and his family. Thank you all. This has been an episode of Left Undone, Incomplete Investigations. I'm Kathryn. See you soon. See you Saturday, for sure, on Saturday Morning Lives, if not sooner. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, please like, ring the bell for notifications. And thank you for being here. Take care.